Is Georgia going to be able to reel back in an elite DB that recently decommitted? I got Jake Rowe in this video, and we're going to talk about that and Terry Bussey, official visit this weekend to Athens. Also, David Sanders, 5-star, #1 offensive tackle in America. He's taking visits, but is Georgia in it, and can they get him on campus soon? We're going to talk about it. UGA fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. A lot of offseason ago. We love talking about the Dogs, so do me a favor, hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring on Jake Rowe from Dogs HQ. And Jake, I'm talking about DB Tay Harris. He decommitted from UGA about 3 to 4 days ago, top 250 recruit. He'd been committed since June 19, and then a day or two later, after he decommits, Kirby goes to see him on the helicopter. So is this a big sign that Georgia is not giving up on Tay Harris despite the decommit?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know in the long run, right, whether or not he's going to be super high on Georgia's board. But I think when you bring in 2 new defensive back coaches, the kid himself has to kind of do some reevaluating. Like, yeah, you have to kind of – this is not what it used to be in terms of the calendar is so much more condensed with these June official visits and things like that I think Tay Harris had to kind of figure out, all right, listen, I need to open this thing up, maybe get some more people involved. Kirby going to see him quickly, I think says that Georgia's definitely not going to give up on him, but I also think it might speak to the whole idea that, listen, we got an in-state kid here. We need to make a final decision on whether or not we're really going to push going forward. And I still think Georgia, if it pushes going forward, is going to have a really good chance to land him. It's just a matter of, kind of where things fall. And listen, we've seen this in the past with Georgia guys. Warren Brinson was one, a Savannah native that Georgia got to commit twice. And, we've seen it happen with guys. So, Georgia's not out of it. Hasn't given up on Tay Harris, but we'll see. Kind of, I guess, this week by week, month by month, how Georgia's defensive backboard or stacks up now that Dante Williams and Travaris Robinson are putting it together.
All right, let's move on to the big official visit that's going to take place this weekend. 5-star athlete Terry Bussey, who's been committed to Texas A&M for some time now, he's going to take a late official visit to Athens. So first of all, UGA did a big in-home visit on Monday. What coaches were in on that one? How did it go? And what are you hearing?
I heard it went well. Glenn Schumann was there, defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, and then both defensive backs coaches, Williams and Robinson, who have a relationship with Bussey. I think Williams is the guy that really gives Georgia a puncher's chance here. Dante Williams has a really strong relationship with Bussey. But the way I look at this is like most of these don't turn out, right? Most of these do, no fruit from the vine on the vast majority of these. But Georgia fans have a very recent example to point to, maybe a little different, but ultimately like when Michael Ooney, out of Copros Cove, Texas, visited Georgia. Coming into that visit, everybody's like, hey, listen, man, it's Michigan or it's Alabama. I mean, Georgia did not really seem to be much of a factor. He comes on campus. They fall in love with it. The staff does a really good job recruiting him. I think he left campus having told Georgia he was coming. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that you have to consider here. Georgia, very attractive place, very good official visit experience, very good recruiters. And I think you give them a weekend in Athens to kind of see how it shakes out. And I'm interested to see if they can make some noise with it, because he is a guy that, to me, can do multiple things for you in the secondary, and it really does seem like he's open to kind of getting this thing figured. It doesn't seem like you need one team really has a stranglehold on this thing, and that's kind of rare in this day and age for somebody not to really have a hold of a recruitment this late in the game.
But didn't Georgia kind of get a boost with the addition of T-Rob there in the secondary as a coach, because he had a relationship with Terry Bussey at Alabama, so this isn't as much of a cold call kind of as you're making it seem?
Well, yeah, no, I don't think it's a cold call at all. I just, Josh, how many times do we see it now where a guy visits 6, 7, 8 times before you get him, right? I mean, it's usually more than just one official. It's an official and a few unofficials, and Georgia's going to have to kind of lean. I'm not saying he's never been to campus. I don't even know the answer to that question, but I don't think that relationship with the overall staff at Georgia, it's just not what it has been in the past. Like it is in these recruitments normally. So you're right. It's definitely not a cold call. I mean, Dante Williams and Travaris Robinson put Georgia in the thick of this thing enough to get a late official visit. I just think that it's a little bit of a long shot when you start considering the fact that he spent a lot of his time during the season and in the summer other places and not at Georgia. And Georgia is kind of a latecomer in that regard.
Yeah. No, you're right. There is usually a formula to this. You see a certain number of visits, generally speaking, when somebody is going to flip or somebody's going to commit. So we'll see how that plays out, though. But a big opportunity this weekend for Georgia to flip another 5-star, possibly right at the end of the 2024 cycle. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, I want to move back to the 2025 class. The number 2 overall prospect in the country, number 1 offensive tackle, David Sanders. He's been planning visits, and he told our Chad Simmons that he wants to find some top schools by February. So my question to you is, he's taking these visits. Is UGA in it, and can they get him on campus soon?
I think Georgia's is in as good a shape as anybody right now. I'm not saying they're a leader or they're in better shape than anybody. I just think Georgia is. I feel like if you were to get the Sanders family to sit down and really lay out their leaders, I think Georgia's going to be amongst them. Now we'll see as time goes on whether or not Georgia can stay there. They recruited a big offensive line class in this past class. But I do know that they think extremely highly of David Sanders. From what I understand, talking with sources around Georgia, I expect a couple of more visits to Athens will happen in the near future. I think he'll probably be in town at some point before spring practice, and I think he's going to be in town at some point during spring practice. And Georgia's built a really strong relationship there. Kirby Smart, Stacy Searles, Mike Bobo. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, they have been recruiting this kid very hard for a very long time. Remember talking to him last year, almost a full year ago at Under Armour, and he gave me a long list of coaches he communicates with at Georgia. So I don't think that slowed down any, because this cat is he's good. He's one of those rare. He's going to be as good as he wants to be. I don't even know if he's learned how to play football yet, and he's still amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of recruitment to go. He's going to drop a top 8 to 10. That's kind of the range he wants to do. That's what he told Chad Simmons in February. Then a final decision will come in either August or early September. So still a lot of recruiting to go for David Sanders, but we do know he will be dropping a top list here soon. Jake Rowe from Dogs HQ, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming by the Inside Scoop, talking some Georgia recruiting.
You got it, Josh.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.